talk about. We'll just keep talking. We'll just keep talking. Just keep talking. Talking. For so long. Oh, we're babbling on.
If we work in tandem. Okay, good morning, Babbles. Today I'm joined by the premiere.
This is not going well.
This is horrible. Like, cancel
I think
it.
you need to start over.
Okay. Good morning, Babbles.
I'm directing you.
Today I'm joined by a director, a playwright, a screenwriter, a burgeoning filmmaker. We're going to get into it, but just welcome to the stage, my good friend, Sam Max.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm so glad you're here. It took forever to make this happen.
It has taken longer than imaginable to make this happen.
I'm like extremely nervous all of a sudden.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
well,
that's just how it goes. Yeah, we're doing this. Who are you in the 8? Do you know this question?
I do, yeah.
So it's Carrie, Miranda, Charlotte, Samantha, Jessa, Marnie, Shoshana, and Hannah.
I had a really bad thing happen to me recently, which was that
we love that stuff here at Babbling On.
a new friend read me for filth.
No, that happened to me.
And I had a vision of who I was for so long, and I was really committed to the idea.
Who did you think you were?
I was like, Jessa, no question. And she was like,
I see that.
Thank you. I think I have aspects of her. And I think mostly what it is that I relate to her narrative. I love that she gets an abortion.
Yeah. Well,
she's a milk drinker.
She just has a miscarriage, right?
Right.
In the bathroom of that bar.
Does she?
I'm not trying to
Oh, you're so
be the police
right.
here.
She was on her way to the abortion.
She was not going to her abortion.
No, I don't feel as though you're policing me at all, but you know, basically she had a baby struggle that's related to...
Did you have an abortion?
Several. I have one a day.
I have one an hour.
Right.
So
it totally depends on your definition of that, but
of course,
like psychologically,
an aborted
for me,
idea.
It's happening frequently. So I was always like, I relate to her, and she's kind of like...
You have tattoos.
I have tattoos.
And you have sort of a European sensibility.
People think that I'm from Europe when I go there.
We met in Berlin, which I kind of do want to share that story.
Yeah, totally.
Not to cut you off, but finish your 8.
Yeah, so I thought I was Jessa for a very long time, and I'm still subscribed to the idea that I could be her. But ultimately, I was outside a bar with a new friend, and she was like...
When new friends read for filth, it's either like, wow, you aren't afraid to go there, or it's like, whoa, like, you're not afraid to go there?
Right. Yeah, and it's kind of special in that way. I actually didn't reveal about myself what I thought I was, because I was like, I'm very interested in her immediate perspective.
Oh, so what did she say?
So she goes, "You're Marnie."
I knew she was going to say that. No, I don't think you're that, but I just like, if we're going to go the like most filthy route, like to be called a Marnie is to be extremely insulted.
It was shocking. It was deeply shocking. It was
you're not a Marnie.
It was 3 a.m. and I wasn't ready for that information.
You're low-key a Hannah.
I couldn't sleep that night. I'm a Hannah.
You're a Hannah.
That's also offensive in a different way. I mean, there's no good option,
you get
basically.
It, though. Like, you're kind of a Hannah and I'm a Carrie.
Because I'm Jewish?
Is Hannah Jewish?
Well, of course.
Oh. Why didn't I put that together? No, because you like...
Well, I don't think she goes to synagogue or anything, but she has the sensibility.
You're a creative.
Okay.
Who's in Brooklyn.
But why Hannah, not Carrie for me? Just for example. Because
I'm already Carrie, and I have curly hair, and you have a more... You're... I think that you're more on the pulse of what is current, and I'm more like...
On the pulse of what was 90s.
Yeah.
Totally. We're from different eras. We're period actors in different ways.
I'm the older version of you.
Right. We're both period actors. I'm more of like a 2008 period actor.
I'm, of course, Lily Rose Depp, though.
Well, sure.
Period actor,
totally
Lily Rose.
Different era.
That's a different thing.
No, of course you're Lily Rose. Who are you? You're Carrie.
I'm Carrie.
Yeah.
But today I'm a little bit Miranda because I am a little bit stuffed up and sick, and Miranda's just always like, oh,
yeah,
you know.
You're complaining a lot today.
I'm complaining.
You're complaining.
I'm a little weak on my feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on the fainting couch.
Not because I like partied last night. That's not it.
I can tell it's not that.
That's
it's
not
something totally different.
It's something else.
It's a secret third thing that's causing you to be ill.
It was 11:30 and I was in my bed and I was like, why am I not getting up? Like, I need to. I have a lot to do. I had to clean this apartment before you came. This is your first time here. What do you think, by the way?
I think it's totally clean.
That's all you're gonna say?
I think it's clean. It's charming as well. And I like that you wake up to natural daylight so close to you.
So here's the one thing, though. I'm like, is that aging me on my skin?
No.
Like sleeping in the sun like that?
No, I think probably the benefits of waking up to natural daylight are outweighing anything that's happening to your skin. And also, the sun isn't shining directly on your face through the window.
Where are you at with the whole sunscreen thing? Like, sunscreen every day. Like, I'm a little like, are you kidding me?
I definitely don't do sunscreen every day. Well, first of all, I think it smells bad.
Oh, see, I actually it makes me think of the beach and stuff.
Well, sure, but I mean, totally depends on what product you're using. Who am I to generalize about it?
Do you use
but I'm trying to get sun on my skin. Like, I'm inside all day.
Well, I was trying to do that, and then I went to a dermatologist who said I had irreparable sun damage, and I had to get 2 moles removed, and now I'm kind of like, it's over. I'm not going in the sun anymore.
That's the business of dermatology, is to make you
they're
think that there's something wrong with you. I mean, I think, no, they're absolutely trying to sell. All of them are sponsored.
On my skin, there are spots that, like, can you see this? There's like a lot of freckles.
No, but
my shoulder.
You just did like an amulet reveal.
Yeah, which you've charged the amulet, right?
I don't think so. What's inside it?
Do you want to charge it?
Yeah, sure.
Lean a hand over.
Okay.
And hold that. Did you give me anything there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I gave you wishes for a great podcast session today.
I actually felt you received something too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it was sort of a protection where
it's impossible for me not to receive something from the amulet.
Speaking of which, I want to quickly share how we met, because I just think it's an interesting story. It doesn't technically involve an amulet, but like, basically you could...
It was spiritual in a way.
Yeah. I was at Berlin for the first time in a really important time in my life with my friend Callie, and you and I had known each other from online for a while. And
we knew each other from online.
And Callie and I had just been rejected from Berghain, and we're walking away. Berghain. And we're walking away, and it's like golden hour, and we're kind of like, holy shit, we got rejected. Like, I guess we got rejected. Coming. Like, we weren't expecting that. And then I turn and walk.
No one's ever expecting it. Let's just say that. That's why you waited, or that's why you tried to go to the door.
Right. Although I actually do feel like a lot of people are expecting it, and that's part of why they get rejected.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Spiritual.
Which we can totally, like, self-fulfilling prophecy is a whole other...
Oh my god. 8 hours of content.
That's like a podcast, a full
Don't
podcast
get me
series.
Started.
Don't make me start there, because then that would be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Don't make me... Anyway, you walked out of Berghain as we were getting rejected, and I normally, like... I actually consider myself a little shy. I don't know if you think that about me, but
no.
I think... Like, normally I would have felt too shy to be like, oh, there's someone I know. Like, I'm not going to say hi. But I was kind of with Callie. We were on the adrenaline of getting rejected. It was golden hour in Berlin. I was kind of like, fuck it. And I was like, Sam?
Right.
And you turned.
That's exactly what it sounded like. It made me feel so famous.
Were you gagged? Like, what did you feel?
I was
Were
gagged.
You like, oh, I have to talk to someone?
Well, the thing that I've described to you before is that I was leaving that club after many... hours of...
I remember what you said too. You were like, many hours, and you're like, I just go for the music.
At that time I was sober.
And you were by the DJ booth, like, going for the music. And I was like, wow.
At that time I was sober. I was really raw dogging the club. You were rawing it? And it's a really special experience, actually. To be sober. To go for a long time and to really... I love observing. Like, it really... turns me on to be present in my environment and watching people and there's a lot and the stories that they're telling and it's just beautiful. I love being in there because there are also so many different kinds of people. But I was leaving, I was so exhausted, and I was like, I was so exhausted, I was like, I don't know what I'm even going to do with myself. Yeah. I was also there alone. You ended up getting dinner, right? I'll keep going. Yeah, Berlin is like, I think it's a kind of special place to be alone, which you've experienced before. I've been alone there a lot. Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's almost like recommended in a way. It can get quite lonely. It can get quite lonely. It can get quite lonely. But it is like, I think you should be alone and lonely there for part of your experience. Yeah, it's a good experience to have. It's like culturally condoned. But anyway, like someone saying my name was the last thing I expected.
Were you shocked? Like, did your stomach kind of like flip a little bit? It sent
shivers on my spine, and I felt so excited.
Yeah.
I felt so excited.
And did you have any idea that it would be me at the other end of those sound waves?
No. And I'd never met Callie before either. And then we all became such special little friends.
Well, that was a really special trip.
Yeah.
We formed a trinity there.
We formed a magical little trinity. And we've cast some spells since, I would say.
I know. And the amulet has actually picked up on a few of those and kept them safe. I got this in Berlin, actually. The amulet I got in Berlin last time we were there.
Where did you buy it?
I might have bought it like the day that we saw you for the Substance. Oh, no. It was we saw the Substance in Berlin. We were there again this fall. And we actually almost did Berlin as our topic. So that's why I feel comfortable with this side tangent.
Yeah, I thought that would be really humiliating. I mean, mostly the reason that it took me so long to get on the podcast is that I kept shutting down Hilton's ideas, basically.
Yeah.
And
which is tea. And by the way, you think you're alone in that, but like a lot of people are like, I can't do it. I mean, a lot of people are just trying to delay the day that comes where I'm like, you have to do this, or I'm going to be like mad and hurt that you're not doing it. And I kind of have to guilt people into doing this because people aren't. We were talking about this off air before, like. A lot of the people who come on the podcast aren't necessarily people who want to be in the spotlight and just don't have a lot of experience on a podcast. But I like that about the podcast because I don't think people want to hear like masturbatory, like 2 micro celebrities jerking their dicks off.
I think it's a really beautiful perspective on what a podcast can be. And I'm glad that you're sort of taking that on as a real point of view that you're saying about what the podcast is.
And partially it's just like I don't really know that many famous people.
I mean, you're basically a pop culture psychoanalyst, and I feel like you're really good at bringing that out in people, bringing out free association. You certainly do with me. I love listening to the podcast because it is people that I feel that I'm getting to know, actually.
Really?
In a nice way. And it's not just their
really
bits
sweet.
Or their performances. It's like...
No, it's them.
It's unmasked as possible.
Yeah.
Basically. That's what I'm trying to do right now.
I mean, that is like... I'm actually... Get emotional. That's like what... That's what I wanted.
Right.
I didn't know that was...
I'm holding your finger.
Okay, so we have a lot to cover, so... Let's get back to business. Sam, what are you babbling on about today?
Today, the topic that ultimately we have decided on as being correct
after going through Parent Trap, after going through The Matrix,
I can't even count how many topics that we auditioned.
We went through a lot.
What felt correct and what felt current and like right in front of us.
Nicole Kidman we were going to do.
We were going to do Nicole Kidman. I said that seems difficult.
Yeah.
Just because
you realized you hate Nicole Kidman. I love her, by the way.
I don't hate Nicole Kidman. Sorry, I just don't have that special attachment to her.
You don't have that special thing.
I really need to watch what I say.
I can babble anything out. Anything you're uncomfortable with, like Nicole Kidman slander, obviously.
I can't see a world... I'm just not going to say that.
Sure.
Basically, today Today what we're babbling on about... The mood just
got so tense.
It got really tense.
Yeah.
My media training came back in. Really loud. Basically today, our topic...
Go for it.
...is the amazing living auteur, one of the...
He is alive.
To me, one of my favorite directors who's alive.
Same.
His name is Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers, ladies and gents. The omelet herself.
Yeah. She comes out of the bathroom.
Her filmography. We're talking about the films of Robert Eggers.
And what's great about it is that, like, if you're someone who's maybe not so familiar with the work of Robert Eggers, it's not like talking about someone who's dead where you have 101 movies to watch that are like vary in quality. It's like his features that he's made, they're not that many. I think there are 4.
There's 4 features, and that's what makes this such a good topic.
It's perfect because you can watch those in a week, and I
watched all of them in the past 2 days, and also I think most people have seen at least one of these.
Totally, you have accidentally or deliberately seen at least one of them. You're probably going to theaters, or you have gone to theaters and seen Nosferatu.
Yeah, which just came out. And by the time this episode comes out, we'll have been out for a few weeks. But Nosferatu, which I interviewed. I saw it early because I interviewed the director of photography, Jaron Blaschke, who worked on all 4 of his features.
He's unbelievably talented.
Unbelievable. He got an Oscar nomination for The Lighthouse. I'm jumping ahead. We'll get into it, but Jaron is super cool, and I feel like is part of I won't say part of the writing process, but just like such a big part of what the movies come to be.
Absolutely.
So talking to him was really cool and learned a lot that we'll get into in Nosferatu.
Yeah.
But maybe we should start at the beginning.
The very best place to start. The very best place to start. Yep. Yeah,
when
you're
sing,
literally born for that role, by the way.
What, it's Maria?
Yeah, singing.
From Sound of Music. That's
Singing
my
to
favorite.
children in the Alps.
You don't think I would play Kurt? He's one of the kids.
He's not coming to mind.
He's the little faggot boy.
Right.
He's like 9, and he's like...
I kind of like to put people in roles that they feel like they're scared of.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where I would put you. Just like in a little blonde wig. Yeah, maybe we can see your actual hair out from under it.
You want the curls to peek out from under the blonde wig because I play.
I think that would be really interesting, like aesthetic tension.
Ultimately, that is probably the movie of like my childhood. We watched Sound of Music all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Did you?
I watched it. Yeah, it was on TV a lot.
Anyway, so Robert Eggers,
not interesting.
Like fuck that. Robert Eggers. I really like that we landed on him because his journey. Why did that just make a weird noise?
Sorry, because I knocked the table.
As a filmmaker, he started as a production designer. He doesn't know who his biological father is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Did you read that in Wikipedia?
No, but that's really doing a spinal tap and clicking a lot of things into place for me.
Yeah, he didn't know. And then his mom married a guy with the last name Eggers, and from there we got soft-boiled, hard-boiled omelet.
Robert Eggers.
Deviled. Robert Eggers.
Yep.
He made some short films to kick things off. The first one is called Hansel and Gretel. Mm-hmm. I had the sickening opportunity to find it on YouTube, and I watched it this morning.
I was summoned to find it on YouTube.
And you looked at it. I was summoned. Did you see it?
I watched the first 2 minutes and decided I kind of knew what this was going to be, and then I skimmed the rest when I was riding the D train.
It's a silent film, black and white, with just like in the old day silent movies where you get a text plate of a line of dialogue and then you see so I want to preface the whole conversation by saying like we are both huge fans of Robert Eggers. Like he would be my ideal director to take on the script I'm working on now.
Oh wow. Cool.
Yeah, I would love him to do that. And the title is, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but it's The Pool Boy, and a lot of his movies start with the word the, so I'm kind of like, this could work.
He's starting with the, you're starting with the.
Yeah.
That's a special kind of tone when someone starts with the.
And so, all said with reference.
With the Nosferatu.
The Nosferatu was my other. That would have had too much overlap. But, so any critique that's said on this podcast is said with all love, and he would agree with me that he didn't like his film Hansel and Gretel. I was just watching an interview, and he talks about how like any aspiring filmmaker should go watch this and see that you can evolve,
right? And
that his beginnings were humble. Like it's kind of it's just a.
I'm glad that he's honest about that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he is known, and is becoming known as one of the foremost, like, controllers of the camera. Really, he's someone who's like so obsessed with like technical refinement and detail and camera dynamics and motion, and he storyboards everything, and he's so controlling. And you watch the short and you're like, it's not that. No,
it's so loose, and it's just like, I mean, I don't know, it probably wasn't as blurry in the actual short you could see when it was airing at festivals and stuff as it was on YouTube, but like this was like a bootleg, like you can barely even see what is happening.
I mean, maybe that's what it looks like.
Or it might be what it might have been a choice, because the lighting does look really like blown out.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was your, before we get into the 4 films, like, which one did you see first? What was your intro to Robert Eggers? And like, what were your initial first impressions, I guess?
Yeah. The first one was The Witch, which is his first feature.
Yeah.
Because I was living with someone who I adore, who's really interested in horror movies, and we really shared that. We watched horror movies together all the time.
Yeah.
And that was such a special thing.
And so was it their idea or yours to press
It was his
play?
idea.
Okay.
I hadn't really heard about it, actually.
Oh, really?
I think it was maybe like...
That kind of
It was only a
me.
few years after it came out.
Okay.
I didn't catch it like when it went to theaters.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah.
No.
And he was like, oh, this movie's so good. Like, it's a modern classic. Like, you have to see it. And then I was like totally blown away. I was like, who is this person?
So you gagged hard.
Done. I gagged hard also because my first impressions of it, to answer your question, was like, it is so emotionally impactful with so little. And I really appreciate that about a filmmaker. And I also feel like that's a real test of a filmmaker.
If they can make an impact while not bludgeoning something on the head.
If you can make an impact with like literally a few actors on a farm and like make people, I mean, and animals, of course, like it's not nothing, but it's like compared to what he's doing now, it's very, very
well, it's very small scale. Yeah.
And it's hard to do a genre film that's effective with so little. I feel like Blair Witch Project sort of like paved the way for films like that to exist. And
this is his closest to Blair Witch. The Witch, for sure. I mean, obviously they're both witch
But it's also just beautiful. Like, I feel like in a dramatic sense, it really has amazing character portrayal.
To me, it's the most emotional, surprisingly, of his 4 films. Like, definitely the one where I am sort of with the main character the most, which is played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who's playing a young girl named Thomasin in a Puritan family, like in the woods in New England.
Yeah. And I have to say that, like, I'm not huge on Anya Taylor-Joy.
Are you at all? Like, do you like her in this?
I'm obsessed with her in this movie. And it actually made me really understand the obsession with her.
Yeah.
I don't think she's been in a role like that since.
I think she's good in The Queen's Gambit. And I think she's gorgeous. I think she's talented, but I am annoyed by her. She's just like, it's just too much. I guess maybe there's a jealousy component. I'm just like, she's so beautiful and has so much and just seems to sort of dance through life.
You want to be her.
Sort of like Fiyero. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish that she stayed on more of a track of doing these kind of raw roles.
What does she do now? I mean, Furiosa sucked to me.
I haven't seen it.
I loved Mad Max Fury Road, and Furiosa just kind of felt like a retread that offered nothing new and just didn't live up to the original.
Sure.
Still,
you mean the one with Charlize or like the original?
Oh, the one with Charlize.
Yeah, for sure. That one is kind of unbelievable to watch.
Mad Max Fury Road is like one of the greatest films ever. And the fact that it's also the director of Babe, just like, which I'm also obsessed with.
And Happy Feet too, right?
Happy Feet 2 or Happy Feet?
No, Happy Feet as well. I don't think there's a Happy Feet
I haven't seen Happy Feet.
Okay, no problem.
I haven't seen Happy Feet.
That's doing something for you. I mean, it's penguins, basically.
Are they gaggy?
Yeah, they're tapping.
Is that the same thing as Rio?
No.
But both have Anne Hathaway?
I'm not aware of Anne Hathaway's presence in Happy Feet. But it's totally possible. It's just not sort of what comes to mind. I can
just really picture Anne, like a clip of Anne in the voice studio recording as a penguin. Or maybe I'm just mixing her up with Rio, which I also haven't seen.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing about a film like that, is that anyone can be the voice of a penguin.
I would love to be a voice actor.
Yeah, I think that you could totally do that.
Will you cast me in your animated debut?
I actually do want to make an animated feature.
Really?
Yeah.
About what?
Because I found this animator who's in Berlin who worked on one of my shows that I wrote.
Yeah.
And he's so talented. He's this little
stop motion
young prodigy who does like a combination of like motion capture and...
What's his name?
His name is Louis Craven. He's going to be very shocked that I'm mentioning.
If you want.
Yeah.
Louis Craven. I just wonder, I have some connections to the animation world, so I wonder if...
I think animation is really ripe for innovation right now.
Well, you know, my ex is a celebrated animated filmmaker.
Oh.
That's like what he does.
How do you feel about that?
I was always... There's a loud siren going by. But what can you do? Perfect time to say this, since then I can babble it. I always thought that was so fucking cool. And like the world that I got exposed to, like going to animated film festivals and stuff.
Yeah.
The people in that world are crazy.
I'm sure really it's really cool. Colorful.
Yeah. It's a lot of just like crazy, nerdy artists.
Yeah.
Who are heaven.
With love.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with all of them. Reach out if you are listening.
Yeah. If you're someone Hilton met on the animation circuit and you're listening, Please reach out.
This does segue quickly to, I just want to address the elephant in the room that you're like a very accomplished for your age playwright, director, theater maker, filmmaker. You've made a number of shorts. I don't want to spill your tea.
But thank you.
Yeah, but celebrated, and you're major as fuck in terms of
That's really nice.
Filmmaking and theater. And so it is nice, but it's also true. And it makes it even more exciting to talk about Robert Eggers, just because the journey of him as a filmmaker is very clear through the evolution of his movies. And it's exciting. And I also am an aspiring filmmaker, have made a couple shorts, and I just think that's worth mentioning.
Absolutely. And I would say about you that you're an ingenue.
Oh, that's so sweet. You mean like Emma Stone?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
but
so
I also
sweet.
think like the term of ingenue can apply to a lot of different disciplines.
What does that mean again?
I just think that you have this gravitational pull that's like, don't clink your water bottle when I'm complimenting you.
Clinked.
That's not right.
I clinked.
You're trying to do percussion over there while I'm giving you a compliment.
I clinked towards Bethlehem.
Right. What was that reference?
That was like... that was a slouching towards Bethlehem thing. Yeah. But now I'm realizing I might need to just babble that whole part.
No. I think it's great.
So you think I'm an ingenue?
I think you're a bit of an ingenue. I think you're a bit of Emma Stone. Joan Didion was an ingenue in her own way, speaking of slouching toward Bethlehem.
Yeah.
But that's really kind. I'm coming from like having my ego really bruised by this lady who's like 105, who's like this theater legend that I met for drinks last night. And
you mean the girl who told you were Marnie?
No. That's a young person that I met several weeks ago. It's a totally different bar, okay. But I understand why you linked it together.
I thought maybe that was the same person.
Because those are two instances of my ego being bruised.
Wait, how did the old lady bruise you?
She's very accomplished and kind of a legend, and we were just like meeting about like potentially talking together or working together. And it was the kind of meeting where like I had done so much like research on her, and I was like, I love these early productions that you did with like these artists that I really admire, and she had no idea who I was, basically.
She was like, you're a nerd for knowing all of that.
I think she liked it. Like I think she was very
people
flattered.
love to have their ego stroked.
Oh my gosh,
take it from me.
And I'm totally happy to do it.
Yeah.
And I do respect her work, absolutely. But there was a certain point where she asked me how old I was, and for a long time I was trained to not say how old I am, and I told her how old I was, and she like, she could not get out of the bar fast enough. She was like, you're too young. Yeah, she was like, yeah, I was so dismissive in this way, and I left feeling so defeated.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Like,
that sucks.
Thanks for doing the opposite of that. I needed it. That was my whole point.
Well, I love to stroke an ego.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not above that.
Yeah, I appreciate also how you're trying to keep us on topic, by the way.
Well, okay, so back to The Witch. It's his first film. I want to note that from this interview with Jaron Blaschke, the DP, he was telling me about how when they were color grading the movie, which The Witch I think is regarded as his masterpiece, let's say that. Like, it's the one that people love the most. It's his first one. Is that fair to say, do you think?
I think so. It's not my favorite, by the way.
Really?
Which I actually learned through this process of rewatching all the films. I thought it was my favorite. I think because there is such public attention to it.
Yeah.
I think people get really excited when people come out of the gate with a film that has a vision that feels fully formed, and the director just like seemingly came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, people get really excited about that shit. But like you're saying, he did make this short in like 2006, like 9 years before The Witch came out. I don't know if that played festivals or anything like that.
I don't think it did, to my knowledge.
But anyway, it's just like, no one comes out of the gate fully formed. It's like everyone's doing all this work sort of like invisibly.
I guess just having rewatched the four, they're all really intriguing in different ways. I think from a story plot perspective and an emotional character perspective, The Witch is the easiest to sort of get hooked into, is what I would say, because it's a mystery and you're trying to figure out like who's the witch, and
right, it's simple in a way. I mean, it's period, so it has this level of abstraction,
which
but
they're
it's
all
like
period, and that's like his thing, is like deeply researched, super historically accurate period dialogue, setting, costumes, and that it's like you're getting a history lesson.
It's so hot.
But yeah, actually, that's basically all I needed to say about
I feel like you can sort of... I feel like this is... I don't know. It has a narrative that's not as complicated as the ones that end up coming from him.
Yeah. Well, it's the smaller. Actually, the Lighthouse is kind of smaller scale, maybe.
I think that it's smaller in cast, but on a production level, I don't know if it's smaller. I mean, they're doing really crazy things.
In the Lighthouse?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, before we get there, I do want to just touch on a few things in The Witch, which is the witch's saggy ass. The dad is really hot.
Oh, yeah. In a sort of surprising way.
Yeah, I mean, he is up there for me with Alex and Robert, which I'm skipping.
This director loves actors who have bodies that are tea.
I want to save this for the Lighthouse, but since we're here, it's like, he has a fascination with desire and sexuality, and specifically the male body as an erotic object that is so impressive, especially considering this is a director who's kind of regarded by like the film bro world as like the top. Like, I think film bros love The Witch, love all this shit. And so for The Lighthouse to exist, which is like one of the most homoerotic movies I've ever seen in my life. Gay. It's pretty like cunt of Robert. I
think all of his movies are very gay, actually. Yeah. And it's interesting that you brought up first that he doesn't know who his dad is. I think that's evident in all of his movies. That's why when you said that, I was like, oh, everything's making sense. Because I do think there are certain things about a director's biography that I don't think you can read all of a director's movies, like, or an entire body of work through like a life event that happened. But I do think it's related to a lot of his fascination. He's very fixated on the male physique. And I'm thankful for that.
Me too.
I mean, it's really important that straight directors make gay movies, actually.
I think he's sort of bi-curious, if I'm T.
Yeah.
With Robert. Like,
he goes to swingers
Robert
parties.
And I hooking up. I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, I kind of just like, when you can just tell someone would hook up with you.
Right. Well, if he's directing your film, I think you should be a little bit careful about that. But he's more so in the position of power than you would be.
But I was kind of thinking it could be a sort of Elizabeth Taylor. Didn't she like fuck her director at one point?
Sure.
Like, it could be like that.
Yeah.
I wanna dig in more to the male body thing in the Lighthouse, but I do wanna take a little longer on The Witch. Yeah. Just some of the dialogue is all like, "Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?" That's
kind of giving
line.
that.
It's giving that.
It's giving thou.
Thou. I had to put on subtitles last night when I was watching it because I was like, "What are they saying?"
Absolutely.
And that really helped.
Yeah.
There's a goat called Black Phillip.
This goat, apparently, I learned in the IMDb trivia, which I love IMDb for a lot of things, but my favorite thing about it is
the trivia.
The trivia.
Who writes the trivia?
I don't know. I think it's like crowdsourced.
Wait, do you think they're hiring? Like, I need to do that.
IMDb to write trivia? Yeah. You would be so good at that.
Just go to Wikipedia, find some things, put it on IMDb.
It's really joyful.
Yeah.
I love seeing and I'm like, these are not all coming from professionals.
Who's verifying this stuff?
It's basically Reddit. And
it becomes canon as soon as it's on IMDb.
No, totally. I'm like, I take everything that I see in the IMDb trivia section as like complete Bible. But apparently one of those facts is that Black Phillip was very hard to train.
Oh.
And the scene where the goat is fighting with the dad, like, that wasn't scripted. Like, they actually
Wait, it wasn't scripted when the goat kills the dad?
Well, the goat does not kill the dad.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, totally. I'm not
remembering. Spoiler alert. The goat kills the dad at the end.
Okay. No,
spoilers
like at the beginning. Sorry. Just at the beginning.
Oh, even at the beginning when he's like wrestling.
When he's having trouble wrangling it.
Yeah.
So that's trivia.
Which is now the right time to bring up the topic of how... Actually, no, we'll circle back to that. But you had an interesting thought that you sent over voice note this morning about like certain trivia pieces that emerge that reveal something about a film's trajectory.
I'm actually excited to talk about this. In a way,
let's just talk about it now. Since
this is my thesis for coming on the podcast. That I realized this morning, basically, while I was watching The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
And I was reading the trivia section for The Lighthouse. Mm-hmm. And I was just like noticing a theme with Robert's movies, but also with like anyone's movies, basically. If you dig deep enough into like the lore surrounding the making of one of your favorite films, basically at every single stage of the filmmaking process, you will find there are decisions that the director sort of like accidentally didn't make that would have made that film like the most horrible film on earth. like a truly like...
What was it in the case of The Lighthouse?
I don't remember what it was. Well, there was obviously like Anya Taylor-Joy campaigning for herself to be the mermaid.
Anya wanted to be. So in the Lighthouse, it's two lighthouse keepers in like the 19th century on like not Plymouth Rock, something.
I actually don't know where they are. It feels like maybe Canada or Nova Scotia.
They shot in Canada.
Yeah.
It's some remote like rock. There's a lighthouse, and it's Robert Pattinson. Let's just say it's giving maritime. Dafoe. It's giving maritime, and there's a mermaid that's in like 2 scenes. Anya campaigned to be it and was rejected.
She was rejected from the part of the mermaid.
Yeah. And then she wanted to be the seagull.
I don't remember what it was in the
Wasn't
Lighthouse.
It something about the seagull? Didn't you say it was like a 15-minute scene where the seagull
I was just
talked?
making you were making that up. Like that was just an example I sort of imagined. But I'm not remembering what it was, but there was something on the Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Like with like I
Oprah Winfrey almost got cast as Willem Dafoe.
It's stuff like that where it's like
near misses.
The whole concept. Oh, or like for example, in the case of the Lighthouse, like the executives trying to convince Robert to shoot in color. They were like, we can't release this movie black and white.
Which would have ruined it. Yeah.
It would have completely ruined that film. Yeah. The fact that it's black and white in the aspect ratio it's in, it's giving Bergman, it's giving like, it just makes you read it in a totally different way. I trust like Robert's imagination around that so much. But it's like, oh, they were like maybe like one piece of blackmail away from shooting that in color, and it would have been awful.
One thing I remember you saying is that the Lighthouse like was what he was working on before The Witch, and then due to like financing stuff, The Witch ended up being his first film. But it's like, if The Lighthouse had come out first, not that this is like an Oprah Winfrey as Willem Dafoe situation, but it would have completely changed his career, because he would have been known as like the faggy one.
Totally. And I also feel as though just like on a technical level, you can tell that he learned things on The Witch.
Oh, that reminds me. Yeah.
That made The Lighthouse what it is. So, and I think The Lighthouse is technically a harder movie.
Definitely. I mean, they built a real lighthouse on this rock, like in remote Canada, and there were extreme sea storms and stuff, and it was apparently a really difficult shoot. But when I was talking to Jaron for Nosferatu, he was talking about, I had asked him about, sort of selfishly, because the script I'm writing takes place almost exclusively at night, and I wanted to know about like how you shoot stuff when it's like pitch black. And The Witch, there's a lot of nighttime, and he only used candlelight and natural lighting because he wanted to be appropriate to the time period. And Jaron was saying that when they color corrected it, they didn't color correct it to properly format for movie screens. They did it for like whatever smaller screen they were working on, and so when it got onto the movie screen, they were all like, oh no, it's like so washed out. And like
The Witch or The Lighthouse?
For The Witch.
Oh yeah.
And so my point being, which I didn't really notice that watching it on my friend's TV last night.
No, I think it looks great actually.
Yeah, but the point is, they were like, that was their first feature, and they were making mistakes and learning through their mistakes. And so then they get to The Lighthouse, where he ends up with the Academy Award nomination for cinematography. Yeah. And it's like a really stark, it's a square aspect ratio. It's black and white. And yeah, it's a really beautiful looking movie.
And I think it's really hard to pull off. Yeah. It's beautiful to see the evolution. I loved watching these 4 films back to back.
I know, it was fun.
It's really cool.
The most fun I had was watching The Northman, since we were live texting through it, and
I needed really to be live texting through it.
I wouldn't have paid close enough attention and would have written it off as the weakest, because going into this conversation, I think I was like, oh, Northman's the weakest.
It was important that we had a social experience watching that movie.
It's hard to rank them.
It's hard.
We'll do that at the end.
Yeah.
Lighthouse, though, based on an unfinished Edgar Allan Poe short story. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't.
And he wrote it with his brother, which makes me wonder if the brother's gay. Because, I mean, the movie is like these 2 guys in this lighthouse, like jerking off on each other and like kind of doing dom sub stuff. You talked about the biological father and how there's kind of like a daddy thing, and Robert Pattinson in interviews has said that like his character was like looking for a daddy in Willem. Yep. And there's cum everywhere.
Well, the lighthouse is basically a penis.
Oh yeah, and there's a shot where that was cut for the movie by the financiers.
I'm so glad that was cut, actually. That's another thing. That is to my point.
Right.
Which is like, okay, so the lighthouse, it has all this imagery around it. Like Robert Pattinson's basically jerking off to this wooden mermaid the entire film. Yeah. I mean, for me, just excellent.
Of course. Of course.
Of course, I can't imagine anything better. Just like really, like he's so depraved and just really needs to be horny.
When
and
you said the word depraved, I just like shivered.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad. So there's all this like phallic imagery in it. Yeah. But I think it's important that it stays abstract in a way so the audience can have their own interpretation.
Yeah.
What is the lighthouse? What does it signify? But there was almost this shot, which was scripted, where they cut from an erect penis to the lighthouse. I'm so glad that's not in the movie.
No, that would have been too on the nose.
So ham-fisted.
This movie somehow is able to thread the needle of being pretty explicitly homoerotic without ever getting ham-fisted.
Right.
Like, it's still very artful.
Yes.
And it's the weirdest of the four, I would say, by the way.
Think, yeah.
I think it's
my favorite. No, I think it's my favorite of the four. And I realized that this morning when I rewatched it,
I remember seeing it in theaters. I was with my old boss, who I was her personal assistant, and she snuck away from her family to come see this movie with me, and we were like smoking weed going in, and I was like, holy fuck, this is crazy really that this movie exists. And she was kind of gagged as well. And then rewatching it, I still think it's amazing. I don't want to disparage it at all. I think it is amazing, but maybe like it's so esoteric, it's so bizarre that there was less for me to sort of
hang on to. Yeah, absolutely. It's asking a lot from you as an audience. I think that's just my taste. Like, I really enjoy directors who make us work a little bit.
Yeah.
I like feeling so activated. But I know what you mean. I mean, all of his movies, I think, are really hard watches in different ways. Or they're asking for different things.
Willem Dafoe's eyelids is another thing. Just the way the shadows catch those.
How gorgeous. I love that you said that. I had an idea for a category that we could do today called Willem Defriend or Willem Dafoe. But that's the furthest I got with it.
Well, I think in this movie, it's Willem Defriend for me because he's a gay guy.
Right. He's a gay daddy.
He's a gay daddy. I think in Spider-Man, it's Willem Dafoe because he's a bad guy. Green Goblin.
Sure.
He's scary in that, if memory serves.
Yeah.
And I would say, I mean, he's in Northman and Nosferatu?
He is.
Yeah.
He's stayed with Robert.
He stayed with. Yeah. I've actually met him. I've had dinner with Willem Dafoe.
How was that?
He's really cool and really like seductive, and like you want to like
I can see that for him.
Kiss him.
He has a sexual energy.
Yeah, he's like, and he's just witty, and he's very like, he's like younger than anyone you've ever met. Like he's so like energetic and like crazy.
That's someone who knows how to age. Well, I think the actors who are really good are so comfortable with themselves, and they're just like, and he's a real one.
He's a real one, and he like is who you would think he is. Like he's like he's just like really full of life, and
I'm addicted to that.
Yeah, he was cool, and I was on a red carpet with him in Rome.
Wait, so who was at the dinner? Was it just you and him?
I feel like I'm actually not allowed to say based on an ironclad NDA that I had to sign, but he was there. With him? No, not for other reasons, but
understood.
He was there, and
it was a dinner with the Freemasons.
It was the Illuminati. Yeah. It was Beyonce.
Not surprised.
No, but I remember him signing autographs on this red carpet in Rome, and like he just like gagged the dolls ultimately. Like,
really? His presence.
Like
everyone passed the fuck out.
It was a once in a lifetime. Like people were bleeding out their noses.
They were bleeding. Yep.
Anyway, I wanted to reference Robert's ass in long johns in the Lighthouse. Like,
also exposed. Like, are you kidding?
Exposed.
That shot,
when he's pumping into the mermaid.
I really can't even talk about it.
No, it's like we can't talk about that. Moment of silence.
Watch it. Watch it in silence.
When Robert pumps.
When Robert pumps.
When Robert pumps. Like. I also have written down Willem Dafoe trembling mouth.
Wow.
I just feel like that's that? I don't recall.
This is another movie where you can't really understand what anyone is saying at any time, but it doesn't matter because you're watching kind of like a play from the olden times, and you're getting it. Like the acting is so good that you're getting the beats, even if you're not getting every word.
Cum dripping down on him, Willem jerking off while Robert watches, Robert's gray sweater. Yeah, there's all this. If I had a steak, I would fuck it. That's a line. Wow. Oh, don't be such an old bitch. That's a line. That sounds like my dad talking to me.
Can we talk about the scene that I'm like, this is Robert Eggers as a filmmaker. Like, this is his talent.
Yeah.
Is a scene that's just the word what? W-H-A-T?
W-H-A-T.
being said back and forth
what?
Over and over. Yeah.
What?
Do you remember the scene?
Like, not really.
They're drunk and they're in their room and they're just saying what back and forth to each other. It's like literally a Meisner technique.
Meisner was twitching in his screen.
But I was like, my mouth was open. Like,
it gagged you a bit, didn't it?
Oh my god.
Sparkle like a sperm whale's pecker. That's another line of dialogue I wrote down.
Oh.
You like it because I says you will. Like, this is hot.
You like it because I says you will.
What? You like it because I says you will. This is coming back to, like, the thing we were talking about off air about how, like, lately when I'm having... I need it to...
Sex.
I need it to be... like...
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want to volunteer that information.
I'll have to battle out that silence.
Yeah,
but
that requires a whole episode.
This movie basically sort of gives me what I need.
Yeah. It has a bit of a... It's transgressing in certain ways, I think.
Transgendered.
It's transgendered.
Yeah.
Cinema.
I wanted to also say... the interiors were shot inside a hangar at Yarmouth Airport.
What's a hangar?
I think in airports or in Star Wars, a hangar is like a big area where they keep airplanes or spaceships.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They were in there.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Incredibles when they like go to the hangar.
Okay.
And it's where the rocket is. Yeah.
Yeah. Robert Eggers did not make The Incredibles. But it's a good one.
If he did,
it would look different.
It would be a different movie. And I'm sorry, like, no shade. I actually think some of the thing that makes Incredibles great, which is like the emotional... I feel like we would lose some of the emotion in Eggers' version of The Incredibles.
Interesting.
And it would be a little bit more about, like, syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's always interested in the body, I think. And, there's a mom that's elastic. The dad, he's big and
There's
tall.
a bulging dad.
There's a kid who can run fast.
Yeah, that's Dash.
So I think Eggers could find a way in. I would be very curious to see.
It's actually not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
I mean, eventually they'll do a live action of all this shit.
Right, it's like this monstrous, like, abject family that has all these sort of, like, body contortion things wrong with them.
Maybe by the time they do a live action Incredibles, you or I will be at the level where we get asked to direct or write that.
Sure. I mean, there's no way to predict it. I don't know if I would take that on, but I support that for you.
I would like to play the live action Violet.
No, totally.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That would be great.
That's what you want, actually.
The live action Violet could have curly hair.
Uh-huh.
Or I could get a blowout. Curly hair. I could get a blowout.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the Northman?
Sure, I'd love to.
So this one we watched in tandem.
We did.
If we work in tandem.
Literally.
And I was laughing my ass off.
We were really having comedic experience watching this film.
It was a great experience.
That is a very difficult watch. It's quite long.
It's long as fuck.
You don't really know. It's moving like a stream, and you don't really know what you're meant to hold on to. I found out that Alex Skarsgard basically was like, I want to make a Viking movie. And Robert Eggers was like, okay. And this is the result of that.
And Bjork introduced Robert Eggers to this other guy named, like, Jor something.
What was Bjork's involvement?
Somehow Robert visited, like, the Norwegian part of the world.
Right.
Scandinavia. And met Bjork, I guess because they're both, like, famous people.
Sure.
And Bjork introduced him to this writer whose name is escaping me, forgive me. But it's a one-word name with 4 letters, and there's a J in there somewhere. Cher. It's Jer.
It was Cher.
I actually think it might basically be Jer. And they wrote this movie based on the myth Amleth that was apparently the inspiration for Hamlet, which you deduced.
Oh my god, I literally knew that.
Yeah, and also that's an anagram, Loki.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that hard to guess,
Hamlet.
I suppose, because...
I mean, right, because it is the same story.
It's literally the same story, but I didn't realize that until there were about 15 minutes left in the movie.
I wouldn't have noticed it.
That's okay.
Yeah, you were there to do that.
I just know Shakespeare.
By the way, The Lion King, you're aware, is
that's
also
Hamlet
that
as
story.
well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I guess that you knew.
Yeah.
Scar,
and Mufasa.
Nala.
Yeah. This land, it could be yours.
And then the mom.
Where's my dad? Where's my dad?
What's the Oedipus thing? Oh, in this, the Oedipus thing is explicit because
that's correct.
Nicole Kidman, who was almost our podcast
This is a
topic.
spoiler alert, yeah.
Spoiler alert, cover your ears, plays Alexander Skarsgard's mom. And in one of my favorite scenes from the movie, Nicole sucks her son's face.
That's right. I actually didn't see it coming.
You didn't?
I didn't.
I sort of did.
I kind of felt like the movie wasn't going to go there.
Oh, wait, had you never seen it?
The Northman?
Yeah.
No, that was my first watch.
Oh, I had seen it before.
That was my first watch is when we were texting basically the whole time.
And what we were saying the whole time was just like, need Alexander's dirty cock. Like, just gonna go that out there.
Totally. Outed.
And nipples.
And nipples as well. Yeah, he looks really good. It's really hard for him to look not good. I mean, he's supposed to basically be like a dirty Icelandic slave. And that really did a lot for me.
It was hot. He was covered in soil and sweat. And by the way, him and Nicole Kidman reuniting from Big Little Lies here under very different circumstances.
I loved that relationship. I mean, it wasn't right. And
you mean them in Big Little Lies?
Yeah. Of course, she should have gotten out of that. Heaven. But I love seeing stuff like that portrayed just because it's very embedded in my erotic fantasies.
Same.
You know, it's a walk-in closet. I'm hitting you with my heel, like,
and then
there's something perfect about that.
Oh my god, that show.
I don't know.
Is my favorite thing. Season 1, Big Little Lies, and 2. Like, fuck the contractors.
What?
Everyone hates season 2 of Big Little Lies, and I'm like, why don't you grow up? Meryl's in it. Like, stop whining. It's fun.
Whining. She's really doing something campy.
Yeah, she screams.
No, I loved the whole thing. I wish it went on forever, actually.
Thank you. Well, apparently Nicole has suggested there will be a season 3.
Was it Andrea Arnold who was attached to the second season? They had a lot of problems with her.
She directed it, and then they recut it because they didn't like her version. I wish we had gotten to see that.
Me too.
Because you should come back on and we'll do the films of Andrea Arnold.
Oh, wow. Like, I mean, don't get me started.
Fish Tank could be in my letterboxd for pretty 100%, easily.
100%. She is someone who also has a bit of the Eggers effect where she came out of the gate running really fast.
Oh, have you seen her shorts? I actually watched all of her shorts on Criterion.
Shorts. Andrea Arnold has a short called Wasp that is maybe the best short that's ever been made by anyone.
Yeah. It's so good.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't.
Starving kids.
Sure. Right? Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you shouldn't try to make good shorts. Like, everyone should be trying to do better, but you won't get better than Wasp. It's perfect. Really it's so emotional. I can't believe the places it takes you. Too. Oh, wow.
If memory serves.
I don't know if I saw Milk.
I think that's what it's called.
Oh. Wasp I think it won the Academy Award.
I think it did. One of them did.
Yeah, she's really brilliant. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite filmmakers.
Why are we talking about her? Is so good. Oh, because Big Little Lies season 2.
But I would love to. I think TV can learn a lot from film. And I think, I feel as though there's a certain cadence. I mean, I think this is ultimately why she was probably expelled from the project or why she quit. Or I don't know exactly how it went down. But I feel like she probably wanted to do a very cinematic idea of how the second season could look and feel and move. And like you're saying, I would be so curious to see what she did with that. But TV, there's like I feel like there's a certain perspective by studios and execs that has to like move in a certain way. Because audiences are like, they're interacting with it differently. They're not coming to a theater and sitting down and putting their phones away and watching for 2 hours. They're watching at home. They're,
how interesting would it be if you could watch TV at a movie theater?
I think some people do, like when certain episodes like premiere at festivals and stuff like that. But I think it doesn't. There's just something they're concerned with, like public opinion in a different way. I feel it's a weird generalization to make, but I do think there is a divide.
Well, I also think Andrea Arnold, to bring it back to Robert Eggers, like her take on Big Little Lies season 2 would have been more in the direction of The Lighthouse, where it's like image focused more than. I mean, all of Robert's movies are very image focused, but like I think The Witch is a bit more of like a accessible story arc than The Lighthouse. So if you compared Big Little Lies season 1 as The Witch, Big Little Lies season 2 from Andrea could have been The Lighthouse.
I see where you're going with that.
You get what
I see where you're going with that. You're trying to link Andrea back to him. But anyway, back to the scene in the Northman. I don't know. I think Robert's kind of restrained in certain ways in terms of how he depicts relationships. Like, I think he likes to edge you. He's a little bit Robert Edgers.
He doesn't like to give you the full blast.
No, he's not like perverse in that way that like Emerald Fennel, for example, like is, which is just like. I don't know about that.
We gave birth to her.
I think you did. I struggle with her a lot. I really struggle with her.
I struggle with her too, but I actually don't hate her in the way that many of our brethren do.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I am really turned off by her filmmaking. I think because it is very on the nose. It is very like made for shock value. Yeah. She's very interested in that, and I feel that Robert has a little bit.
Carey Mulligan.
Mulligan.
I was trying to come up with a word for Carey Mulligan's community, and I went with Carey Mulligan.
Right. The Carries.
The carriers of the mold mead.
Yeah.
I just love her.
Yeah.
And I think...
The all-night Carries.
I liked the premise of Promising Young Woman a lot. I don't think it was executed well, but...
Well, this is to me is like everyone keeps excusing her because they're like,
I know,
they're like, oh, like it was such a good idea, but it wasn't executed well. I just love her name,
Emerald Fennel.
No, but I'm like, I'm sorry. The role of a director is to execute it well.
Yeah, she didn't execute properly.
And she's not doing that. I'm sorry.
She was Tia in The Crown.
Okay, sure. Well, she was acting in that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what she's supposed to be doing.
She might need to act.
She's at it again.
Anyway, I keep cutting you off.
No, so I just didn't expect it to go there, and then you know there is this kind of incest thing that happens, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, Nicole Kidman's in a very unhappy marriage with someone who runs this farm.
Which he low-key emerged as being hot by the end of the movie. I never noticed it.
He did, yeah. Yeah, Robert Eggers is good at making you, like, understand a man's sexuality.
Well, in The Northman, like, even more so than The Lighthouse, honestly, most of all, you get to see, like, these hulking, sweaty male bodies walking around in literally Speedo loincloths. And you get to see some hot guy shit. And it's heaven.
I think that if I didn't read the plot of that movie prior to sitting down and watching it...
Oh, you did that?
And also being able to, like, bounce back and forth with you, I don't know if I would have understood what the movie is about.
I think it's bloated. I think it's too long, and I think it's not super coherent.
That said, watching it is truly an amazing experience that is undeniable.
It's kind of the most epic of the movies.
And it doesn't completely work, but it's like... to everyone who said to me that I wouldn't, like, I really liked The Witch and I liked The Lighthouse, and everyone told me not to go see The Northman because it'll change my opinion.
On this one is like the least interesting one.
And I sort of understand where that's coming from, but I do resent people who told me not to see it at that time because I do think it is worth seeing.
Well, they were assholes.
You were being wrong.
And they betrayed you, and they were disrespecting you.
Yeah.
And your taste.
And Nicole Kidman's wig in that movie is one of the best for her.
Yeah, long crimped
Hermione.
I'm one of the few
long crimped Hermione hair.
Hermie was in the room that day. Yeah. I'm one of the few women who's willing to say I like Nicole's wigs and fuck the haters. But I like everything basically and fuck the haters. Like fuck it. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
Nicole's bangs and Big Little Lies were correct.
Okay, sure. No, I think that was a good wig for her.
Thank you.
That was a good wig for her. I don't know.
Oh, wait. Also, we watched Baby Girl recently.
Baby Girl, the wig was not working for me.
The wig wasn't good.
That would look like a cheap wig.
The more I think about that movie, the less I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was really you're like famously a movie lover, and I feel like I'm famously a movie hater. But that's why we get along so well. It's kind of like lightness and darkness.
Yeah.
We need each other.
No, we do.
And
completely.
I saw that movie.
We can't live without each other.
I was basically an instant hater from the first scene.
From Babu.
And it was...
From the masturbation? In Babu?
In Babu.
In Baby Girl.
Babu-goo.
I just lost myself.
In Baba? Baba-goo-goo? The Babadook?
In the Babadook.
The Babagoo by
Helena Rain.
Yeah.
Helena Rain.
Well, I don't know. I think it's so like... I was kind of saying this on my close friend's story, and I definitely got some like blowback for it.
What did you say again?
Well, I was just like, it's so like steeped in this like very vintage version of feminism that's like... It's all about, like, you, like, show the woman coming. Yeah, like, that's right. Like, look at her come. Right. And it's, like... And that's how the movie starts, basically. Is, like... we hear Nicole Kidman's, like, orgasm acting before we even see picture. Like, it's, like... It's this
when
idea...
you say see a picture, do you mean, like, the title track? Before you see the image.
Yeah. No, before you see any visual. You're hearing... And I thought it was so ridiculous. It's totally absurd. And I don't think that she really... the director understands the tone of what she's trying to portray. If you're really taking it seriously, I don't know, like you would have controlled it more in this kind of like, you would have either gone further into the camp territory of what erotic thrillers have been, or you would have gone like drama. And I don't think it was sort of anything. I
actually just realized that a Robert Eggers directed Baby Girl could have been cunt. Ultimately.
Totally cunt. Well, but he's so... It would be very tense in the way that I think that storyline is actually asking for.
I'm not even joking. I think that would be a really interesting...
It's a premise I totally understand. The premise works.
I mean, and that first scene works where she has sex with her husband and then runs off to jerk off to porn to come. I think that was an interesting way to start the movie.
It has a great setup. It doesn't sustain itself.
But can I say this? Like, I don't really like Baby Girl upon further reflection, but I actually really like Helena Rain's first movie, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I remember really...
It's not her first movie.
Oh, is it not?
I think she has this movie, it's maybe called Instinct. That was her very first one.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
I only know that because that's in Harris Dickinson's Actors on Actors. He was like, I watched the first movie of Helena, and that's what made me interested in Baby Girl.
You watched all of Harris's and Drew's stuff, and you were catching the words they were saying.
I didn't.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. It's easy to... I was sort of doing lip reading.
God, I need to watch that later today.
You're going to spend some time with that.
I'm going to watch it and learn about their
close the windows,
choices.
Lock the door, and learn about their acting. Look at their teeth. Really nice teeth.
They have good teeth.
No British actor has teeth like Harris Dickinson. Those are American teeth.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
They're straight and white.
It's Invisaligned.
You know, in 30 Rock, when... I've actually already brought up this kind of pointless anecdote on this podcast, but like the guy whose name is Wesley Snipes, and he's like her future husband in the doctor's office on 30 Rock.
What are you talking about? Oh, on 30 Rock. Yeah.
And then she like tries to say like, you know, British people like have bad teeth. Everyone says that. And he's like, no, they don't.
Right.
I just think that's funny.
Right. Because don't make assumptions based on nationality. That's not right.
But a lot of British people do have bad teeth. Now that's
true. I don't
have a problem with that.
To give a personal anecdote, I had a lot of orthodontia work as a child. I think because like American parents, especially like, I don't know. My parents specifically had this sort of anxiety about me turning out ugly, I think, because I was already effeminate and obese. And they were like,
you were beautiful. Ow.
I wasn't. I really... Oh, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I wasn't beautiful as a kid, no. I think I was pretty like unattractive looking in my middle school era. And then I went through puberty and I got taller.
You got
and that helped.
It.
I crunted a little bit.
You crunted a little close to the sun, me fears.
That fears. But basically I went to college, and like after all these years of orthodontia work, I had this British studies professor. I studied in England for how many months? 4 months, 5 months.
Come on.
Shakespeare, etc.
You went to England?
I did. I studied there in a town called Grantham. And I had a professor named Edward who would make me... Absolutely not. We didn't know. He wasn't really like that.
It wasn't
But basically, he would say, like, frequently in class that I looked like young Joseph Stalin. And then he would ask me to...
Was Stalin hot?
He was actually, yeah. I see the similarities. I think he was just a little bit like in the middle of nowhere in England, and I'm like a little bit horny. So he kept kind of saying things about his students.
Yeah.
And then he would be like, he would make me smile for the class and be like, look at these American teeth. Like, this is what American teeth look like. Isn't that crazy?
Yes. That reminds me of...
But I would do it because I'm really into that kind of... Like, we never fucked, but I'm into that kind of like...
Flirtation.
Like, I could tell that he was playing out something with me. Yeah. Like, he was playing out a certain dynamic that he needed. And I was like happy to go along with it because I thought...
Oh, I love
it was,
to
like,
be a vessel for other people's fantasies.
Yeah, totally.
When I was in school, I had this French teacher, and we would all dance around the table singing this French song, and he would pick me up and put me on the table and make everyone dance around me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not right.
He was amazing.
Like, drag is not a contact sport is kind of what comes to mind.
It's really weird to think back on that. Like, I would get picked up and put on the table, and the rest of the class would dance around me singing along to this French music. And I would be like, I'm sitting here.
Like, Ryan Murphy's going to buy the rights to your life story. It feels like that.
I auditioned for a Ryan Murphy project.
Oh, which one?
It was one where, like, I played this, like, twink window cleaner. I forget what. I think Matt Bomer's attached. I didn't get it.
Yeah, in the audition, you played that.
In the audition, I played a twink window cleaner.
What was the line? lines.
They were funny as fuck, honestly. It was pretty hilarious. I forgot what they said, though.
Did you, like, mime a spray bottle?
No, I, like, completely, like, didn't try hard.
Right.
In the video. I just, like, recorded it in one take on my phone, and it was like...
Yeah, you tried to play it cool in this way.
Cool.
I think that's very interesting. Like, doing auditions is so humiliating and ridiculous, but all actors have to do it, and I really feel for them.
Do you act ever?
I went to school for acting.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I went to school for acting, and then I distanced myself from it. It was a very traumatic experience, actually, in a lot of ways. It was just, like, very, like... Conservatories at that time, you know, it's now been, like...
Oh, with the cut
It's now been, like... Yeah, it's now been, like, almost 10 years since I was in school. But at that time, like...
That's how it was.
It was vintage. I mean, I was in the kind of, like, last wave of that, like, old guard.
It was like that when I was in school.
Walk across the stage. Like, walk across the stage like you seem gay. Like... Walk across the stage until I believe that you're straight. Like, it was the kind of... It was so old-fashioned. And really trying to like, break an actor down in order to build them back up.
Do you think there's any merit in that approach?
I do. I do, actually. Yeah. And I benefited from it in certain ways. I think it makes you go... Similar to the movies of Robert Eggers. I think it makes you go to a very dark place to then look around at, like... your internal symbology and myths and then sort of come out of it enlightened. I do think that happened to me, but it made me struggle with the practice of acting because it reminded me too much of like my training basically.
So are you
now I'm trying to get back into it.
Oh, you are? Okay.
I am, yeah. Okay. I've really been liking it.
It's
and I'm
so
hanging
fun.
out with more
There's
actors.
Nothing more fun.
And I really love working with actors.
Yeah.
Like it's so fulfilling.
Actors are just... I know they're insane, and I consider myself one, but, like, they're the most fun. I always have loved hanging around, like, the theater girls.
Me too.
Even though I didn't go to college for theater, like, my friend group was all, like, acting majors.
Yeah.
To this day, like, a lot of my girls are those acting nerds.
Right. I mean, I think there's a point at which, like, certain aspects of it can sour a little bit, but I'm not turned off by it.
It's good to have a degree of separation from it.
Having been there and having been in a training program for that, it's like I understand why you are the way you are.
Let's move into Nosferatu.
Please.
One thing I want to say that I forgot to mention is Bunny McDougal. There's a bunny in The Witch. So Bunny
Just
McDougal.
going back to The Witch, there's Bunny McDougal,
Bunny
basically.
McDougal.
Just one thing that I wanted to put a pin in.
Oh, I also forgot to mention
McDougal?
Witch Sucking Goat. You don't know Bunny McDougal?
No.
McDougal?
Medoodle?
She's Trey's mom on Sex and the City. Who's Charlotte's ex-husband who couldn't get it up.
Who is Bunny McDougal playing in The Witch?
The bunny.
What?
There's a bunny.
You're kidding? No, I know that.
I am kidding.
Oh.
The bunny is played by a rabbit.
Oh, you were just kind of free associating. I was like, how is that possible? I'm sorry.
The voice actor of Bunny McDougal is playing the rabbit.
Yeah. Well, I don't... and I'll just believe anything at this point.
Okay, so final film in his feature repertoire is Nosferatu. It just came out.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
We didn't see it together, but I saw it with your friend, Viv.
Oh, Viv got in the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Even though it was sold out?
We did a coup in
How did
BAM.
she sneak in?
Well, Viv just stayed in the theater.
But there was an empty seat.
I don't mean to incriminate Viv, but she just sat there.
She gagged it a bit.
I had such an amazing experience watching this film. I had done a double feature that I didn't really intend to do. That wasn't my vision for the day, but I did it and I don't regret it at all, which was seeing Baby Girl and then seeing
You mean like
Nosferatu.
you hadn't bought tickets for both?
I feel like the Baby Girl plan kind of came into clarity very... Yeah,
Nosferatu sort of is what Baby Girl wants to be in the sense that it's very hot.
I agree. I thought it was actually a really electric double feature, especially watching Baby Girl first, which made me feel really intense and critical about a film. And then going into the work of a director who I really respect and appreciate, it felt... Oh, I also had a Celsius, which does something... I mean, film is so subjective. It's are you hungry? Did you have a Celsius? I had a Celsius before I went in, and I was fixed to the fucking screen.
No, this is totally something worth mentioning, is that the mood you're in and the circumstances under which you watch a movie totally, for me, dictate what I feel about the movie. I can watch a movie that I would have hated under the right circumstances and really enjoy, and then attribute that to the experience of watching and get that muddled, or vice versa.
Yeah, I've done that a lot. Totally. It's just true of everyone. This is like reception theory stuff, which is basically like this idea that like a work of art doesn't exist on its own. Like a work of art only exists basically in the subjective perception of the audience. And you just kind of have to make peace with that at a certain point, I think. I really try to be as objective as possible, but you can't be, of course. So Celsius really helped me with that movie. And
I should do that next time.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, but beyond that, just like the cinematography is just, I mean, such like a bro-y thing to say, but
no, I mean
the capital C cinematography,
the images here, the castle and the fog in the distance, the silhouette of the hand.
Oh my god, it's really just gorgeous.
He loves a taloned wrinkly hand.
Totally, it's coming to him. He's downloading that.
For anyone who doesn't know, Nosferatu, I mean, you're an idiot if you don't know, sorry, but like this is there's a silent film. It's actually Dracula, but they wanted to avoid copyright issues in the 20s, and so they renamed him Nosferatu and made him slightly different. It's like a Dracula thing. And then Werner Herzog made his version in the 70s, and now here it comes from Robert Eggers. It's a vampire movie about like... Oh,
was it the 70s? The Herzog?
I think it was 79.
Wow.
If I looked up correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's basically Lily Rose.
Wait, but the original, like the first one was like...
The first one was in the 20s.
1922.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there are other versions of it. I'm someone who, like, I'm an audience member who, like, for who I am and what I'm interested in, it's surprising that I haven't seen...
You haven't seen?
As many of the takes.
Wait, which ones had you seen going in?
I have seen the one from 1922.
I don't think I've seen that one, actually.
Yeah,
or
it's
if
specific.
I did, I like kind of like sort of it just washed over me and it's like, okay, that happened. Because it's a silent movie.
I have so many friends who are obsessed with the Werner Herzog
one.
The
Werner Herzog one is I love him. And
I'm really excited. I mean, I might even watch that tonight. It? Well, I'm just like, I got into film kind of late, honestly. Like, I was working in theater for so long.
Wow.
And there's so many of those pieces that are so...
Oh, you'll fucking love it. It's so good.
I can't wait.
Have you seen Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula?
I actually haven't.
Bitch, that's what you should watch. That one is my, I think, favorite if memory serves, just based on, I mean, the downside is I'm not really a huge Gary Oldman stan, and he plays Dracula, but the costumes in that are the best things I've ever seen, and then Winona Ryder's in it.
Totally. So I feel like I saw that movie and I loved it. It really was a work of art to me. Yeah. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. It really was a work of art. It really did something for me. It felt to me like clear storytelling, but wasn't like overly simplifying what that story is. And I think there's a real challenge in like portraying, like, her struggle is so internal. She's basically wrestling with a demon in her dreams, and she's like being possessed by Orlok, who's Nosferatu, who she's kind of sexually addicted to, and it sort of represents her shame. And I think Eggers really pulled out like the repression in the marriage in a certain way.
She's married to Nicholas Hoult.
I was interested in that choice to make it like a marriage that felt actually like pretty stable in a way, besides the fact that she's having these dreams. I think it made...
She's amazing in it, by the way.
I really did like her a lot. I was at sort of like a party last night, and there were a lot of like cinephiles there, I would say, and they were sort of like comparing the new Nosferatu to all these other ones that I haven't seen, frankly, and maybe I would feel differently if I had seen other versions, but I just think it's important to evaluate something like on the face, and it's important to understand the context and how it's linked to these other works of art. But like, why I'm not really invested in the business of like comparing certain people's takes. It's just like, well, different people made those, so it's like,
and it's a story at this point that I feel like we all own. Like Dracula, it's like
it's so in the consciousness.
So old. It's like anyone it goes has back, the right to try and interpret that.
It dates all the way back to SpongeBob, basically. When was the first time you heard Nosferatu? Probably on an episode of SpongeBob.
I don't think that was my path, actually.
Really?
I didn't. This is gonna scare you. I shouldn't say this.
Okay.
No one should hear this, but like, we were kind of discouraged to watch Nickelodeon.
That's okay.
Like, we were told, like, put your nose up to Nickelodeon and to Cartoon Network. And I did see SpongeBob, but I never saw a Nosferatu episode.
There's a very iconic episode of SpongeBob that is, like, has the Nosferatu lore in it. Okay. And looking back, I kind of want to rewatch that.
I would low-key watch that.
Okay. He's like in the corner, like flicking the light switch on and off. And like you have, as a child, you have no context for what the word Nosferatu is, but it's like, for me, it's like planted in my brain.
Well, this one's interesting because like his name's Count Orlok, but then he's also Nosferatu.
Well, Nosferatu is the like mythological term that refers to that like archetype, basically.
Like the vampire.
Yeah, the vampire who's
like
bloodthirsty
lust demon.
Exactly.
So what I love about this movie, beyond the imagery and beyond the cast, which is amazing, includes Nicholas Hoult, includes Bill Skarsgård as Orlok, includes Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's sexy as fuck.
Wait, who is that?
He's like the friend.
The friend.
Like Emma Corrin's husband.
Right.
He's sexy.
And he becomes more prominent, I would say, in like the second half.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm remembering.
One thing I'm just trying to get at is Nicholas Hoult, I think, is a really good actor, and this came out on Christmas Day. Growing up,
perfect Christmas movie, by the way.
I had a tradition of doing a very Skins Christmas, which is just I would go in the basement and watch the UK Skins every Christmas Eve. So it felt like a full circle moment.
Skins in the basement Christmas.
But beyond the casting, beyond the imagery, the focus on lust and like frustration at a lack of sex, or like an obsession with sex. Like Robert Eggers is horny and interested in telling stories about people who are horny for better or for worse. And I loved that. And in this, you get to see Count Orlok sucking on both male and female body parts, and it's heaven.
He is very interested in stories that are like horniness being someone's fatal flaw in a way, but not in a way that's sex shaming. Like, I think what's really interesting about the ending, for example, which this isn't a spoiler. Well, it's not a spoiler because it's like everyone knows what happens at the end of the Dracula tale in general, which is that this very like complex idea of a woman sacrificing herself basically in order to like end the nightmare. I feel like the way I feel like it's a very like contested idea of a way to end a story. Just thinking about it through a feminist lens, it's like,
if the woman sacrifices and dies. I'm just making sure this isn't dying. We're good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, how do you portray that in a way that's empowering to the woman, basically? And I feel like he had a really great attempt at doing that. We end the film with her in this shot.
Does she die in that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she dies. Orlok eats her heart out, and then I was confused about the ending, and I sort of crowdsourced my understanding of it, which is that she uses her sexuality and body to keep Orlok on her until the light comes up, which is how she then ends the nightmare of Orlok for this village and like ostensibly the plague. We don't really see what happens afterward. But I think the way that he framed that shot has us leaving the movie thinking about her, actually.
Yeah.
And I think there was a really good attempt to bring her into a very like active position with agency, even though she is supposed to be this like woman who's like in this archetype of like having hysteria and like she's going crazy. She
has more agency than like the Winona Ryder character in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. Still inherently that character is just by the nature of her story going to be sort of
complicated
at the whims of this man who's possessing her.
Right.
My favorite part of the movie, I think, is when he's sucking the blood out of Nicholas Holt's chest. I thought that was really hot. A problem I have with the movie is, and a problem I have with any project that uses this device, is like at a certain point, they're like, you have 3 days to decide if you're going to like, I forget exactly what, but they're like 3 days to like do something to kill Nosferatu.
Yeah.
And I just hate in any story I'm watching when they give you a sort of like timeline like that, or they say like, even if they say like part 1 or part 2, just like anything indicating like the format of what's to come, because then I'm like, okay, now I'm waiting for the 3 days to pass.
You're waiting.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, let's get to the third day, because now I know that's coming and I'm bored.
I think it's really hard to put decision making into a dramatic form because it's so inactive in a way, or it looks like someone like pacing the room.
Exactly.
I don't know if I really felt that while I was watching it, but I totally understand what you're saying.
That would be my other than that, I really liked this movie a lot. And I think we're arriving soon at the point where we rank the 4, which is a difficult thing.
It's really hard.
Anything else you wanted to mention on Nosferatu while we're in the
No, I'd just say, like, take a chance on love.
Of course. Yeah. I'm a romantic.
Yeah, it's a very romantic film.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous. It's really beautifully shot. And it's exactly what I wanted out of a Christmas Day movie, which is that I don't need a perfect story. I don't need a perfect, like, rendering of certain characters. I need to be blown out of my fucking seat by the visuals, by the sound. That's what you go to the theater for on Christmas Day. Yeah. It's a very spiritual event for me. I'm Jewish. It's what I was doing as a kid growing up. It was like, that's what we did every year. Yeah. Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Oh,
one of the most perfect Christmas movies imaginable. It has Christmas as a part of the narrative.
That's right.
You're seeing someone age backwards. It's just such an event. It's so visual, and I think that's why you need to go to the theater. And it felt like, okay, like, let's return to this.
I saw that one on a date with a girl, and then I asked if I could kiss her, and she said no.
Totally. What did that do for you?
She was like, you shouldn't have asked, in the sense of, like, you should have just done it, which is kind of contrary to...
That's hard. She was reading you.
Yeah.
Should have just done it.
Yeah, she's kind of weird in the end, that girl.
Yeah.
Not because she rejected me.
I don't think you were meant to be together. Okay, ranking?
Yeah, wait, didn't I have one more thing I wanted to say? I just wanted to single out, like, I thought Lily Rose Depp did some great stuff. I think Bill Skarsgård was really good. And I love Emma Corrin. I think they were mind-blowing on The Crown as Princess Diana.
That is a period actor.
Yeah.
Not everyone is a period actor.
Well, people were saying Lily Rose Depp has, like, iPhone face, but I don't agree. I think she's a period piece.
I mean, I can see where she's very yassified for sure. She looks perfect.
But in this, she fit the time period.
I think it worked, yeah. Oh.
Ow. Okay, rankings.
For me, The Lighthouse is number 1.
Okay.
And then,
do you want to say why or not?
I think it's just, for me, it's a taste thing. I really like movies that are poetic, perplexing. I think it is a movie that is, like, dark and exploring the unconscious, but in a way where you never lose the narrative, and the characters are very etched. And I don't like when it's like it's too much of a visual poem or something, and this movie has those elements, but it's unified in a way with very clear characters, very clear relationship drama. And I just think, for me, that's what I want, personally, out of a movie.
So that's your number 1.
That's my number 1. And then I would follow that with...
Obviously, we love all 4 of them.
We love all 4.
So, like, it's hard.
It's splitting hairs, and they're also different. But and then I would follow it with The Witch, because I think it's super clear as a gesture. I admire its simplicity and form. Yeah. Visually beautiful. I would say Nosferatu is my 3rd. Mm-hmm. And then I would put The Northman at the bottom. I understand the critiques, but I do think it's a special film. I
mean, I think one of the main takeaways from preparing for this conversation and having this conversation is The Northman is actually way better than I remembered it being. So, like, The Northman also, I think, is my 4th.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
You're going to climb the ladder. You're going to go backwards.
I'll go down to up. Yeah. The Northman's my 4th, just because it ultimately is the least compelling to me. Because because then the other 3, like, Lighthouse compels me because it's so gay and horny, but because it's so I don't know. I just ultimately, I think it's my 3rd, because Nosferatu and The Witch, I was a little more just kind of blown away by the story and, like, kind of gagged.
Yeah.
I think that Nosferatu is maybe number 2 and would almost be it's almost a tie. I could kind of go either way. But I think I'll put Witch at number 1, just because when I really love a mystery, and, like, I was, like, really on the edge of my seat, like, wait, who is the witch? And then I kind of think by the end I was realizing, like, there was, like, none of them were. They all just, like, kind of were pointing fingers, and it was this sort of, like... Yes.
The world made her a witch, I think, was my takeaway.
Yeah, it was sort of like a Blair Witchy sort of thing, where it's like everyone's accusing each other, or like the Crucible type thing, and I liked that. And I think Anya's really good. But there's a case for Nosferatu, just because I love that story and that world and how it looked, that could be... I think they're really tied. which is cheating, but whatever.
So you have Northman at the bottom, and then tied first place is Nosferatu and the Witch.
Yeah.
And the Lighthouse in the middle.
Yeah.
Heard.
Yeah.
Well,
do you want to see if you changed who you are in the A? Wait, who are you as a closing question? Who are you in the cinematic universe of Robert Eggers? Which character would you be?
I have to say that immediately the first one who came to mind was Thomasine from The Witch, Anya Taylor-Joy's role. Yeah.
And who would you say I am?
I think you're Lily Rose Depp for us. Yeah, we're both the girls,
and we're both Bunny McDougal.
I don't know who that
is. I'll show you a picture. Okay. She's a huge bitch.
Okay, gotcha.
And she's the rabbit.
Yeah. So you're Lily and I'm Anya, and we're both sort of battling our demons in different ways, I think.
I wonder if Anya's pissed that she didn't get to play that part.
I think that they probably aren't on speaking terms because of that. I think she's probably pissed.
Sense. I mean, ever since The Mermaid. Well, no, then he did put her in. And I'm actually a little low-key like, why couldn't she be the mermaid? Like, why can't she have a cameo?
Oh, the mermaid. Well, I kind of see that. Well, it's kind of like, I think like he probably wanted that character to be like someone who's kind of unknown.
Yeah.
Or just like came from the sea. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's Anya as a mermaid. Yeah. It's like, I think he's not interested in that effect.
Instead, it was the random hot girl.
But why do you think that Anya didn't play Ellen?
I think that...
It was an availability issue? It couldn't have been. I mean, like, Anya's clearly addicted to Robert.
No, I don't think it's an availability thing. I think that she wasn't quite right for the part. I mean, Anya's a little bit like... I don't know, Lily has a more depraved quality.
I think she does have it's a little bit more shocking when Lily Rose Depp is undone. Yeah. Anya Taylor-Joy like kind of did that track already in The Witch, and maybe he didn't want them to be too like similar.
Plus Anya's a little more like wholesome almost, and Lily is a little more like
she's a sexual being. She's kind of like
I don't know. It's kind of hard to pinpoint why.
Who knows? I would like to get them in an Actors on Actors.
Oh, that would be really good.
Anya and Lily Rose.
Oh, by the way, this was a Actors on Actors variety. Right. Thank you for having us. Mm-hmm. Sam, thank you for coming on the podcast. I love you.
It was my honor.
A pleasure.
I love you too.
I love you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, fuckers.